Working on a 2010 Mazda 3. This issue with this car with the P0171 it's been over a year, and I told her she worked with me. I worked with her on the price because I really wanted more of a context clue as far as what direction I need to go to resolve this. And being that it's been like a year, summertime no problem, late spring no problem. The issue only started happening as soon as it started getting cold again. So this P0171 would only come during cold seasons. And mind you, it's been a year. She'll come periodically, clear it out, clear the code, just tell her, give me a little bit of time to gather a little bit more evidence. But that's one big thing I've noticed. Issue would come about only during cold seasons. Now, if I go to the freeze frame data, last year, what I would notice, it would come about during initial startup. So it would add like 25% of fuel, and we would be in the situation. Now, when she would come by, the fuel trims would be normal. If I recall properly, this vehicle, you have to go into the system if there was an actual issue in the bidirectional portion and relearn or reset the fuel trims. So I don't know what Celsius is. I don't know if I can get to a conversion factor. So short term, yes, adding 25%. Let me see if I can go. No. So the intake air temp sensor is low. So that lets me know the ambient air temperature sensor is low. I want to say, I can't remember what Celsius. I have to really look up the conversion factor, but I know this is low. I think it's like almost 2 degrees for every Celsius. I think. Hold me on that. I think. So that's not right, because it would have been 22 degrees. What I'm thinking about. Let me look up the conversion factors. Yeah, I kind of almost got it right. I know it was like a multiplication of 2, but you got to add 32. So the 11 degrees. Let me see here. Where's 11? 11 would be like 52, and the 89 would be 160, about 200. So, I mean, the car was running for a little bit before it started P0171, but it still indicated it was cold outside, the intake air temperature. Time since start. That's interesting right there. 634 seconds. That's about 612. That's about 5 minutes or so. Just rough math. Let me see if I can convert this. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. I want to say, because I'm so used to this tool having it on the side here. Let me go to the setting here. So cool, we're good. I don't have to think anymore. So 192. Let's go to, yep. So it's still morning. It's still morning time when this was cleared. I did clear it, so that's why it's got 113 since cleared. So anyway, let me backtrack. What I'm thinking, I want to change the intake manifold gaskets, because I'm thinking what happens when it gets cold, it contracts, and then when it gets hot, it expands, and that's what caused our issue initially. So the issue comes about with the intake gaskets not working like they're supposed to. So I don't think it's an EGR issue or anything. I really think it's just going to be an intake gasket. So we're gonna what I'm gonna do, I want to pull off the intake manifold, then we'll inspect that gasket and replace those and see what it look like. Hopefully I'm right and the gasket is actually smashed and flat. That will give me a better indication of like, okay, we're dealing with something that is legitimate here, and I can just do a simple replacement and call it a day. It's going to be a while in regards to if this resolve it or not, but being it's getting cold, I will definitely know on the days leading up once the days start getting a lot more cooler consistently. So let me pull that gasket off and we'll go from there. So dumb. Wasn't even thinking. Let's look at live data since this is the first startup. I can get some information. I was getting ahead of myself here. let's go to fuel trims. Hope the value shouldn't have been learned. Come on here. All right, so we got one code present. Let's go to long term, short term. Let's start up. This is the first startup. It runs a little rough right now. Definitely running a little rough. Cleared up. Look at that short term, it's up 14%. It's at 20, yep, look at it going up. I wonder, I've had EGRs have some issues on these cars too. I don't think I can look at the EGR lift. But I think the last one I had failed. They had an EGR code actually in there, physically in there. But again, it starts working fine once you get hot. So I don't want to overthink it. So we legitimately do have high fuel trims doing a cold startup on the short term. So it's adding 25%. Long term is fine. Just a quick check. I am in the bidirectional portion, and the EGR valve doesn't have any like pre-assumed values, so it's not doing what it wants to do. Let me go to active test. Let's do EGR control. It should warn a little wonky. EGR stuff, valve step motor. See if it'll start stalling. Yeah, it's definitely running worse now. So the EGR works. I'm not worried about that. Okay, I'm confident about the gasket. All right, let me do my thing. Got the gasket. I got everything separated. I don't know, based off of what I pulled off, I'm gonna have enough room to pull it all the way out. I might have to. I'm trying to be as minimalistic as possible. If I pull that EGR tube out, then I can lift this whole thing up with this right here. It's a hex. I don't know why they would put that in there, and they just could just let it flow freely. The gasket for the intake looked okay, but the one that looks flat is the one for the EGR down at the bottom. So that's the main one I'm gonna have to replace. They don't look the best. And be honest, when I would do vacuum test by just pouring water in that area, it would be more pronounced down there. Let me pull that gasket off. This the EGR portion, and then here's the regular intake. It does look notably thinner, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was the problem. Let me go get a gasket set because I bought one a while ago and lost it, so I don't know where it is. I'm gonna go buy a new one and get this area cleaned up and put it back on, and we'll look at the fuel trims. Everything went back together a lot easier than it did coming off, I can promise you that. And I put all my bolts back. All my bolts were put back. So I guess because I had everything laid out, ready to go. So injector's hooked up. I got the cam sensor, this injector harness, fuel line, evap line. Yeah, so all right, let's pull. I'm gonna bump it over and start up because I did spray some brake cleaner in the area to clean the surfaces. So I'm gonna get that burned off initially because it's been sitting for a while. Should be the normal temperature as it did originally when we first started. So let me bump it over. Let's see what happens, and then we'll check the fuel trims. Hopefully I'm right. I am so pissed at the moment because I thought I was talking, didn't even realize I didn't even hit the record button doing an initial startup. You gotta forgive me on this one. But I do want to say the car runs a lot better. The hesitation went away, and the short term has significantly dropped. So it didn't go positive, it stayed 0 and then went slightly negative. So this is a fix, I want to say. When I initially started up, it was 60 degrees Fahrenheit, so still cool on the inside. The vehicle sat for a while I threw the new intake gaskets on, and this is definitely going to be, I would say, a confirmed fix because of those intake gaskets. Now the gasket around the EGR tube was the worst. The new gaskets had a lot more protrusion outside that intake where it seats to ensure good seal ability. So what I'm gonna do, I hate that I just didn't have the initial startup, but you know, I can't change the history, I can't change anything. But what I'll do, I'll keep the comment section updated. This was just a quick video. If you have the P0171 and you have a code for the lean conditions and it only happens during cold seasons, if you had that, assume that you have that code long enough, the intake gaskets in this case resolve this problem. So if anything happened, I'll definitely update, but hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, how to reach us and work, and I'll see you next one.